So Atul Vasan in studio with us. Atul, the obvious question, no Virat Kohli. I mean, that takes away from the powers that RCB has.
And AB de Villiers, why to forget?
Yes,
Probably the best two batsmen in the world missing out. But I don't think so. That's such a big deal. They've got Chris Gayle and Shane Watson. So I think,
but can anyone compensate for no Virat Kohli?
Nobody can. Nobody can. But you got to look beyond. I think that every player will not be available for all the matches all year round. So there has to be some respite to them. Having said that, we've got Ashwin, who's going to miss all the season. KL Rahul is injured. A lot of players. So I think a little bit of sheen goes away when these big Indian stars don't play. But eventually, when when you hit the ground running with the cricket, and then people will forget it. And eventually, when they see Virat Kohli, even in the dressing room, I think it'll placate a lot of nerves.
Okay, let's talk about last year's winner, Sunrisers Hyderabad. They are a great team, but the one big problem we can see at the moment, because we're talking about RCB's problems, the one big problem with SRH is their two-star openers are not in great form. Warner we saw in the Test series. Shikhar's been out of both the Test and the ODI squad, and they were the reason why they won that IPL.
I think Shikhar is the bright spot because he just seems to me that coming out of that bad form.
In domestic.
And he's been getting runs. And I think IPL, you can't actually see David Warner's form in Test series and compare it to IPL because somewhat when it comes to the shorter game, I mean, this guy comes to takes the step. So I think he's always a dangerous customer. I think the biggest loss for them will be Mustafizur.
Yes, I was just going to ask you about that. No Mustafizur. So again, is it as big a loss as like no Virat? Because we keep talking about batsmen, but it's actually bowlers that do really well.
I think the bowlers are more important than batsmen because somebody gets you the runs eventually, unless you're chasing a 200. It's how you restrict the teams that actually a team stands out. And I think, but they've got Ashish Nehra and Bhuvneshwar Kumar, probably the two best T20 bowlers in the country. So I think you make up because all the teams have got such large squads and they've got backups, because when somebody invests money, they don't leave it to plan A. They've got plan B and C. Obviously, the plan B is not as good as plan A, but you never know on a given day, Mustafizur might go for 50 and Ashish Nehra can do the job for you. So you got to actually hedge your bets and you got to have backups.
Okay, so since we are talking about bowlers and the role they play, we spoke about RCB missing their top batsman in AB and Virat. They're also missing their top bowler in Stark.
Well, that is again, I tell you, this will make, because at that pace, and Hyderabad wicket just grips a little bit. In Bangalore, you can go through the shot, even the pace doesn't come in handy unless you've got the variations. But pitch like Hyderabad, when it's not that pacey, fast bowlers come more to the fore because, the change of pace is more stark. Okay. So I think, there was a pun intended there. So, but Mitchell Stark, obviously, you got to miss a bowler like that.
Okay, quick. Your prediction for today?
I think it'll go with the RCB. Somewhat I feel that...
Even though they're playing away?
Even they are playing away because this team has got more balance and a couple of youngsters coming through. I think Mandeep is one guy. They'll have to actually give a lot of confidence going through the season because he's one Indian batsman in the middle.
Right.
And I don't know where he'll play today. They've got to keep Shane Watson and Chris Gayle. Okay. You've got to stagger them rather than put them up front. And if they lose these two wickets, it's going to be...
Okay. Stay with us. Lots more to talk to you about. Now, today's match apart, who's going to win IPL Season 10? Now, that is the million-dollar question. But cricket fans already have their favourites. And our poll on sports.ndtv.com has produced some very interesting results. Out of the 2,200 odd votes that we have received so far, 30% of the respondents have picked Royal Challengers Bangalore as their favourites. And so has Atul, at least for this match. Mumbai Indians are on the second spot. Far behind though, with just 14% of the votes, followed closely by two-time winners in Kolkata Knight Riders in the third spot. Okay, since we're talking about IPL and we mentioned at the start of the show a special treat in Sir Vivian Richards joining us on the show. Sir, it's a pleasure to be talking to you right here on NDTV. Now, it is IPL season, so I shall start with an IPL question. You were, of course, involved with the Delhi team a few years ago, but now as a neutral, if I were to ask you to pick your winner this season, who would that be?
I would have had some sentiments with the Daredevils, but pointing at any one particular team to go and get it done. Why I would have made that suggestion is because you look at maybe the Mumbai Indians. The last time they won on the Ricky Ponting, the next time I guess they could not qualify for the latter round. So it does suggest that the teams are pretty balanced, and any team that gets the right break and play well enough do have a great chance of winning.
Okay, a very open season is what Sir Viv is saying. Now, Virat, as you know, is not playing today, but overall in world cricket, there seems to be a four-way race for the title of the best batsman in the world between Williamson, Steven Smith, Virat Kohli and Joe Root. Who better than you, possibly the best batsman the world has ever seen, to tell us who's leading this race?
I'm not going to get into that particular argument about who is leading at this point, but I have my favorite. My favorite would have always been Virat Kohli, not taking away the contribution from the individuals that you just mentioned, the Williamsons, the Joe Roots, and all these guys. They have done their fair bit over the years to be in that category. Steve Smith also. So I'm not going to, I'll let the public make that decision. But as I said earlier, I do have my favorite. But that doesn't take away anything at all, the achievement of the other individuals.
Okay, Virat is your favorite. Now, that is pretty clear. But is there any batsman playing currently that you see shades of yourself in?
No, I wouldn't put myself in that category at all. I'm pretty privileged and rather fortunate that you can mention my name with these modern day guys. Say an old blast from the past. You know, it is quite good you can do that. But I like Virat's styles. I like his competitive nature and his willingness at all times to try and achieve as much as he can to just basically push the envelope, in my opinion. And this is what I think the development of the whole modern-day game would have helped to produce the individuals that you would have just mentioned.
Okay, you're being a bit modest there. Now, you were one of the most aggressive cricketers that the game has ever seen, but your aggression mostly came from your batting, not your talking. In that context, what did you make of the recent ugly scenes one witnessed in the India versus Australia series?
Well, the only thing that I can see ugly in that series would have been if someone said something that was naughty enough, that wasn't in the spirit of the rules laid down by the governing body, the ICC. But the conversational side of things, the guys in each other's face, nothing is wrong with that. The game needs this sort of a spice to keep it going. And I think this is what would have helped to make the test matches itself, that you would have had all that sort of stuff which folks think it may be quite ugly. The only ugly side of things, if someone really overstep the boundary or go beyond the boundary for that matter by saying something that was totally against the principles of the ICC.
Okay, since you talk about the ICC, sir, what did you make of ICC's idea to allow the umpires to flash red and yellow cards in case of indiscipline on the cricket field, much like another sport that you played very well, football?
Well, to be honest, you got to find various ways and means, I think. But when you start looking to deal with yellow cards and red cards, it does suggest that you're looking to follow in the pattern of maybe soccer. And the governing body is there for them to find the solutions, that if you overstep the boundary where what I mentioned a little earlier about the race card and all this sort of stuff that thinks that someone may be inferior to such, and whoever may be saying these sort of things, there's some drastic measures would certainly need to be taken. And when I say drastic measures, measures enough that would help to deter that sort of argument in future.
Okay, fair points there. Sir Viv, thanks so much for talking to us. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on NDTV. And we'll continue now to look ahead to the IPL. Atul's there in the studio. We'll get that graphic back of fan poll, which is a large sample size. Are you surprised that Bangalore is topping the charts because they've never won the title and Virat's not fit, Stark's missing, AB's missing?
I think this is a micro that they're missing right now. But, you know, over the years, the goodwill the team has collected, it's like the wishful thinking. I don't think so it's got any cricketing mindset or insight into it. It's just the popular vote, as you put it.
Basically.
You know, and I think it's got to do with Virat. I mean, if you can just pinpoint a percentage, I think out of the 30%, 15% is just for Virat. It is the kind of goodwill he carries, you know, and rightly so. He's the Indian captain. He's achieved everything under the sun. He is the heir apparent to Sachin Tendulkar. And I think, and Sir Viv, I have played against Sir Viv, you know, and it's unfair to compare because he dominated a game in that time when the game was different, you know, and you can't compare you know, how he will play, like comparing Don with Sachin and all. Yeah. But I tell you, the kind of domination we've had, none of the 4 batsmen you mentioned had at this point. Okay. They are good at certain points and they are great at certain points. But what Viv, the awe he held, I mean, nobody has got that awe in cricket.
Okay, so Sir Viv was being very modest there. You're not, and you're telling things as it is, that he was far ahead in the 4 batsmen that I mentioned. Quickly, completely out of time, if you were to make your pick, tournament prediction,
I think it's
ignore
hard,
what the fans are saying.
because this is marathon. You could have a great start.
Pick 2, 3 that you think will be.
I think KK I would never, because they've got some kind of balance, and when they play in Kolkata, they've got that edge, and Mumbai Indians and with RCB. I think these 3.
All right, fair enough. Atul, thanks so much for joining us.